Praise the Lord, everyone. A familiar face to you, right? Till now you have seen me speaking about the Bible thoughts, and always it's scripted. I write and I read it out. But today I'm going to do something new. I'm going to give you my story. The story of my life and the story of my son. I think it's going to touch many of your hearts. So before I begin the story of my son, let me tell you something about me. I came from an Orthodox background, and my dad and mom, they were very open to going to different kinds of churches. And I still remember when I was 6 years old, in my house, there were a lot of pictures of Jesus, Mother Mary, and frankly speaking, I didn't know any one of them. Of course, there is this church going on inside the house, yet I never knew anyone who my Jesus is. I did not know anything. But one day, I remember I saw a picture of Mary, Joseph, and a little boy. And I looked at that picture, I stared at it for a long time, and I went and asked my dad, "Who is that?" And my dad told me, "Sweetheart, if there is anything in your heart, anything you want to talk to, you don't know whether to come to me or to mom, just go to that picture and say, 'Jesus, I need you,' and he will hear your prayer." And frankly, my relationship with Jesus started right then. I remember if there were anything, little girls, little children, they have their own issues. If anything troubled my heart, I still remember I would run to that picture, kneel on the floor, and I would pray. And incidentally, I think it's because my heart wanted to know who this Jesus is. God prepared a way for me to meet him. And it was very soon, maybe 2 or 3 months after, I had gone to a sleepover day with a best friend of mine. And while we were playing around, this friend, her name is Renzi, so she and her brother, they were singing a song, God's love is so beautiful, it's so wonderful. And I'm like, these are songs I haven't heard before. And I'm like, this song is nice. Where did you hear it from? Oh, we go to Sunday school. I'm like, what is Sunday school? Then that is where you learn about Jesus. So that name again, Jesus. So this Jesus, all I know is that it's just a name. For me, I don't know any story about this Jesus. And she said, why don't you come? Our headmistress, she's the one who does the Sunday school. So I tell my dad, and then we go and we start the Sunday school. And I still remember my very first day of attending the class. So the very first time when I heard that class, the story was about how Jesus died for us on the cross. I remember I was sitting way back, and there were 2-3 students in front of me, and she was talking about how Jesus died for all of us. And I'd not even reached 7 at that time. I was just in that period of 6 to 7, and I started crying. The way she told me the story, I just started crying. And I remember that was the day I got myself attached to this Jesus. I was just beginning to learn who he is in my life. I remember the songs that we learned that day. There was this song we learned, Agashethilirikum nammade Anashwaranaya Pidava. I remember we all stood in a circle and we sang that song, and I remember crying even that time because I don't know, all of a sudden I felt this attachment to this beautiful Jesus. And soon after that, my dad gave me a diary, and it was to write, my organization thoughts inside that, but rather what I used that diary was for writing letters to Jesus. So from the age of 7 or 8, I started writing letters to Jesus, "Dearest Appa," and then whatever silly things I would write, whatever would come to my mind, I would just write it, and I would write, "Your loving daughter." So there was this relationship that I was with Jesus as I was growing up. I finished school, I go to college, and I go through a lot of hurdles in college. But in the year 2005, I believe, God showed how true he is in my life. And this is a testimony I want to speak of. So I was a girl, though I loved Jesus, I was still in the exploration phase of the different gods of this world. I used to read the Quran, I used to try reading the Bhagavad Gita, I used to visit temples, and this so happened in one of those episodes. I got up early in the morning at 5 and I'm out. I took a cold bath and I'm sitting on a rickshaw, and where I was, it was so foggy that morning. And we were in a rickshaw and there was this hostel that was going under construction, so there was iron rods everywhere. I was inside this rickshaw, two of my friends are sitting and I'm sitting on their lap. The rickshaw hardly moved a second. All of a sudden what happened was I flew through the air. There was this set of iron rods on the floor. I flew onto my left and my friends went on to the right. I had braces on, and the way I somersaulted in the air, I knew I'm done for. Either my life is gone or I'm going to be badly bruised and scarred. I knew I was going to meet an end, but you won't believe it. While I somersaulted in the air, I was supposed to fall flat-faced on the ground on top of those iron rods. But surprisingly, while I somersaulted and when I was supposed to fall flat, I felt one hand holding this and one hand holding the other. And I literally, you have heard of levitation up. This is going down, where somebody was just bringing me down so safely. And like a ballet dancer touches the floor, that is the way how I touched the floor. And I knew that was my Jesus commanding his angels concerning me to lift me up so that my feet will not touch against a stone. My friends who fell on the muddy ground, they all of a sudden, Shoba, Shoba, are you okay? And I was like, I'm fine. And they were surprised, how was I intact? That was one testimony. Then there were many others, but this all grounded the fact that Jesus loves me and he has a purpose with me in my life. And that time, in 2006 January, I decided I want to give my life for Jesus. And I started writing testimonies, I started writing messages, and I posted it in all my campuses. There was one campus I had to go 5 minutes by rickshaw, posted there in the girls' hostel, boys' hostel, the canteen there in my campus. And that is how my messages began. And then, now God took me to the next level. I got married, and now the next testimony you're going to hear. So I just told you all this to let you know as to how I came to faith. Now my real journey, real journey of faith, of real-time faith, began in 2012 when I had my son. More of it is coming soon. Keep watching for part 2.